Hey, what's up guys, Trevor James here, and I'm bringing you guys another deck profile. Today I have for you guys my Pendulum Magician deck. I know I just brought you guys my Magician deck before, or my Pendulum deck before, but this is my Pendulum Magician deck, the new support, and it's absolutely incredible how amazing this deck is. The search ability that this deck has is absolutely fantastic. I think out of any decks that have ever been released, this has the most searching power of any deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Period, because of the crazy amount of searchability that this deck has. On top of that, the amount of, blowout that this deck has is fantastic. It can spam so many cards and get my field full so fast, and it's just incredible. And the fact that you have a one-card rank 4 play or a one-card level 8 Synchro play is amazing, and it's better than Tour Guide or anything before it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to this. This is a 44 card deck, so it's a little different, but because the fact that this deck searches out so much, that doesn't impede on the deck whatsoever. This is not a Zark version. I do still play Zark, but it does not focus on getting Zark out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to this deck. So first up, I'm running the 3 new Cronograph Sorcerer. This card is fantastic. It basically automatically is better than any other destruction card before it, because basically what it does is I can chain this with any of the other destruction that my deck automatically has, like Wisdom Eye and something like that, where basically if a card is destroyed on my field through card effect or battle, I can special summon this from my hand, and on top of that, I can search my deck for the same card that was destroyed and add it to my hand. So it's a crazy, like, 0 for 0, because it's not even a 1 for 1 anymore. I literally get to search my deck for 1 and add it to my hand, and then call it out. So it's a +1, basically, which is fantastic. Such a great card. You're never going to use its scale effect, but it is a scale 1, so, you know, you can definitely use it if you don't have a very good hand. But this deck barely ever bricks, like, whatsoever. And then I'm also playing the 1 Cronograph Sorcerer. This card is not as good as its brother or counterpart, because it's only 2,000, but it has the same exact effect that Cronograph has, in which I can basically have something get destroyed, it comes out, and then I search my deck for the same thing. So, still a great card, but not as good as Cronograph Sorcerer in terms of the stats. And then on top of that, both of these cards are basically my instant Zark, because what they do is while they're on the field and I have 4 targets in the grave or field that can make Zark, I can instantly go into Zark by banishing this and those as well. So, super good card for that. I don't use it that much for that effect, but still a great card for that. Next up, there is the MVP of the deck, which is definitely Harmonizing Magician. This card is absolutely fantastic, especially at 3, because like I said, this is my instant rank 4 or my instant level 8 Synchro, because of its effect, which basically states that when I have it in my hand, and I Pendulum Summon it to the field, I can then search my deck for another Magician card and special summon it. So I can instantly go into any Synchro or rank that's above that type. So if it's a rank 4 and I overlay those two into the rank 4, I can go into any of my rank 4s, or on top of that, I can also go into a level 8 Synchro, which is fantastic. Its scale effect is not amazing, because it just basically gives my monsters like 100 boost for every, like, base-up Magician monster in my extra deck, so I don't know when I would ever really use that. Yes, okay, it's a decent boost, but its main effect, obviously, is the fact that I can definitely use it to go into those instant plays, which is fantastic. It can only be used once per turn, but that doesn't matter, and then it can't be special summoned from my extra deck, so once I use it, it's basically done, but, you know, it's an amazing effect, so the cost is not really bad. And then on top of that, I am running 3 Wisdom Eye. We all know what Wisdom Eye does, but Wisdom Eye is a fantastic card, and I really wouldn't see myself running it any less than 3 now that it's at 3 again. And then we are also running 3 of Performapal Scroll Combat Joker, because why not? This card is fantastic. On summon, it's a search for basically almost 50% of my deck, so why not? Fantastic card, and I can't really see myself playing it any less than 3, of course. Next up, we are running 3 double Odd-Eyes Magician. This is basically the just standard Pendulum Dragon of the deck, because basically when it's on the field, or just in general, it counts as a normal, like, Pendulum Dragon card, so like an Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon card. So it's your first part for Zark. Zark, obviously, its Pendulum effect is really good when it's in the scale, because its effect states that I can pop itself to target any Magician card on my field, and basically, or any Spellcaster card on my field, and basically make them do double damage on an attack. So super good for that. If I somehow make another magician do a double attack, then it's going to do double damage each time, but great for that. And then its monster effect states that when it's destroyed by battle or card effect, I can search my deck for any graph card and add it to my hand, which would be like the Pendulum graph card or the Trap card, which are both fantastic cards in their own right. Next up, I do play 2 Purple Poison Magician. This card is fantastic, though I don't run it at 3. I know a lot of people run it at 3, but I don't really see the need of running it at 3. It's a great card. I can search it with anything, so why not? And it basically is the fusion dragon of the deck, because basically when it's on, just in general, it's counted as a fusion dragon card, which is the other target for Zark. And on top of that, while it's in the scale, I can pop itself to give any of my spellcaster monsters 1200 attack, which is really good. It obviously ends at the end phase, but 1200 attack is a great boost to have. And then on top of that, it's monster effects even better. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, I get to target one monster my opponent controls and destroy it. So super good card for that. Next up, I am running 2 Black Fang Magician, which is the XYZ dragon card, because it's treated as an XYZ dragon. But its effect while it's in the scale basically states that I can basically make one of my opponent's monsters lose half their attack. So why not? Super good for that. And then when it's destroyed on the field as a monster, I get to take one of the cards in my graveyard and special summon it to the field. It has to be a spellcaster, but I can special summon any spellcaster monster from the graveyard to the field, which is super good. And then I'm running only one of the White Wing Magician, the last Zark target, which basically counts as a Synchro dragon card. White Wing is not that great of a card. Its pendulum scale effect is okay, I guess, because it can negate anything that targets a dark spellcaster type monster on my field, or dark magician type monster on my field. So it's not bad for that, but its its regular ability is kind of trash, because when it's used as a sync, it removes itself. So that's not very good. You need it to be in the graveyard or on the field for Zark. So if you end up removing it, that's really, really bad. Just in general, running it at 1 is okay, and it's a scale 1, so it's great to have that balance. Next up, I am running the returners, the Dragonpit Magician, and the Dragon Pulse. It's weird to see these cards only at 1 now each, but Dragon Pulse is still a really good card, and so is Dragon Pit, because these do give me those chances where if my opponent does end up having something I need to get over, whether that's a spell card, trap card, or a monster card, these 2 cards come in handy for that while they're in scale. And then I'm running 1 Oath Dragon Magician. I know, once again, Oath Dragon at 1 is weird, but you have so many amazing cards now. Oath Dragon kind of does get a little bit power played. Still a great card, and I can search for those cards that I need to have in my extra deck or my graveyard, but, you know, still a great card to have, and it's a scale 2, so it's great in terms of the whole lineup. And then I'm running 1 Noble Dragon Magician, because Noble Dragon Magician has been with me since the beginning as well of this deck. Noble Dragon Magician, basically, when it's summoned, it can be used as a synchro for a dragon synchro monster, or tuner for a dragon synchro monster, and then if I have an Odd-Eyes on the field, I can special summon it, and make my Odd-Eyes monster basically make an instant level 7 synchro. So not bad. It's an instant target for Meteor Burst Dragon. And then I'm running a little bit of an Odd-Eyes engine here, so I have the Performer Power and Odd-Eyes engine with Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon, Performer Power Odd-Eyes Unicorn, and we have Pendulum Sorcerer. The reason why I'm playing it like this is the Pendulum Dragon, you don't need to play more than 1 now. I only really play a couple targets for Pendulum Dragon, but I do also play Sky Iris, so I still need that target. Same thing with Odd-Eyes Unicorn. It's a great scale 8. You don't really ever use its effect, but it's a great scale 8. And then I have my Sorcerer, because if I'm ever in that really bad situation where I need to pop my cards in my scale, Sorcerer is great, and then I can search my deck for like Skull Crobat, Joker, and Unicorn if need be. So great to have. Honestly, this engine at 3 works really, really well. And then I'm running 1 Luster Pendulum Draco Slayer. Weird, because I really don't like this card originally. I used to play the Luster variant, or the Draco Slayer variant, and I never really cared for that variant. It was too destructive, and I didn't really care for it. Though this version, because all of my cards destroy themselves, you might as well play the card that, you know, kind of gets those effects off instantly. So super good, because it can pair with a lot of my other effects. And on top of that, I can use it with my Sorcerer, and then special summon it from the hand, and then search for another card. So super good for that. And then I'm running the 1 Archfiend Eccentric, because this comes in handy a lot. If I need to get rid of that pesky back row, I can basically put it in the scale, pop itself instantly, and then destroy one of my opponent's cards, and once again, it can be chained with Sorcerer as well. And on top of that, if it's summoned from my extra deck, which I use this ability a lot, when it's summoned from my extra deck, I can destroy itself to pop one of my opponent's monsters on the field. So super good for that as well. And honestly, it protected me from a game where I was playing barriers, fire burn barrier basically, and this dude went out with fire barrier, and then he had a gravity bind in back row, and I'm like, crap, well, how the hell am I going to get over this? I drew into Archfiend Eccentric, killed the gravity bind, and then attacked over his barrier with Skullcrobat Joker, and then won the game with some crazy play. So really, really fun. Dude just straight up quit after that, and it was super, super cool. And then I'm running two of my very favorite cards, Mist Valley, Apex Avian. I love these cards. These cards are fantastic. Their negation power is amazing, and because of the fact that this deck never bricks, these cards are always going to be on fire. Super, super good cards. Negate anything once per turn. They come back to my hand. Super good card, and even in today's game, this is still super relevant to have. Next up, I have my spells. So I have 3 Duelist Alliance. I did bump this from 2 to 3 because Duelist Alliance is a fantastic card in its own right. As long as I have 1 card in my scale, I can search my deck for any Pendulum named card and add it to my hand. So super good for that. Great with the searchability of my deck, and now with 3, I never really don't have this card live. And then on top of that, I'm running only 2 Pendulum Call now because the fact that my deck is so destructive, a lot of destructive abilities. Pendulum Call can honestly hurt itself and the rest of my deck, because if I activate it, I can't destroy any of my cards in my scale till the end of that turn, or actually till the to the beginning of my opponent's turn. So Pendulum Call, it sucks for that, but you still have to run this card because if you have those brick hands, Pendulum Call comes in handy so much. But still great to have. Just running it at 2 now. It works so well at 2. Next up, I'm running the new card, Star Pendulum Graph. This card is fantastic because of its effect. Its first effect is not that great. It basically just stops a little bit of like targeting, but its main effect is the second effect, where basically if any of my Magician cards leave the field, whether that's in my scale or in my monster zone, I just search my deck for any Magician card and add it to my hand. So super, super good for that. Love it for that, and it's a once per turn effect, so you can keep it going every turn during either player's turn. On top of that, I am running the 2 Sky Iris, because Sky Iris is still relevant even in today's meta because of the fact that people do run Twin Twisters against this deck a lot, and this deck does lose to stuff like that. So Sky Iris protects myself from Twin Twisters. That's the main reason why I want it. And if I have a brick play, I can pop one of my scales. If I have bad scales or something, pop one of my scales, search my deck for the Odd-Eyes card, and add it to my hand. So super good for that. And then I'm running the 1 Odd-Eyes Fusion to round up my spells. Odd-Eyes Fusion is still a great card because of its effect, especially its second effect, which basically states that if my opponent has more, like 2 or more monsters on the field, I can fuse from my extra deck an Odd-Eyes monster from my extra deck. So I go like Odd-Eyes on the field, Odd-Eyes monster from my extra deck. It's an instant Vortex Dragon, and Vortex Dragon in its own right is a fantastic card. And then the last 2 cards that I'm running in this deck for my traps is my Time Pendulum Graph, or my only 2 traps. This card is absolutely fantastic. The ability that basically states, the first effect's whatever, the ability that basically states that I can pop one of my own cards to destroy anything on my opponent's field once per turn, and if I use it with a Time Star Magician, I can protect my monster, and then pop 2 of my opponent's cards. It's really, really good. I don't see why people aren't running this at more, because it's fantastic. I would run it at 3, but I don't have any room in this deck right now, and I'm running this deck on 44 cards as it is. So yeah, that is my regular deck, guys. Let's go ahead and get on to the extra deck, and I'll explain my choices on that. So first up, I am running 2 of the new Time Star Magician. This card is the other crazy searcher of the deck. This card can search any of my monsters in the deck, basically, because it can search any spellcaster card. So basically, its effect states it can be only created with 2 level 4 Magician cards. So most of my deck can do that, and then on top of that, its effect is I can detach 1 material every turn, or once per turn, and I can search my deck for any spellcaster card and add it to my hand. So I almost always use this card to search for Cronograph Sorcerer, so that I have Cronograph Sorcerer live. And if I want to go for a Zark play, this is a great card for as well. And then its other effect is just as good. It will protect any spellcaster monster on my field once per turn, because of its effect that states that if my opponent wants to target or destroy it with a card effect, I can send 1 Magician card from my deck to my graveyard instead to negate that effect. I can even use it on my own monsters that would destroy my own scale effects to basically protect themselves to go off for more plays and stuff like that. So it's fantastic, and it obviously gets off my Zark play, so there's a reason why I run it at 2. Next up, I'm running the one Tornado Dragon. I completely took out kind of my not-so-great extra deck cards from my other deck, and I'm now running some pretty awesome cards. So Tornado Dragon is the first one there. It's basically a Twin Twister once per turn. I can detach one material, pop any spell or trap card on the field, which is fantastic. And then next up, I'm running a little bit of a Zodiac thing. So we got Zodiac Broadbowl, and then we have Zodiac Trident. One thing I really like about this, because the fact that you don't really do the Zodiac thing, you have at least 3 materials on Zodiac Trident, so you can technically pop 3 cards and do an effect once per turn. So getting off 3 pops is really good. I always try to get this off because if my opponent attacks into it, it does have 0 attack, so that's kind of a downside, but I never really have that happen. And then I am also running the Utopia package. I am running one number 39 Utopia and Utopia Lightning, which are great cards too. I don't really ever see myself not playing the Utopia Lightning package. I think every player is playing that package now. And then I'm running for the rank 7s. I've got one Big Eye and I have one Absolute Dragon. As the only Odd-Eyes target that I wanted to have for a rank, Absolute Dragon still is a great card, and if it gets destroyed, I will instantly go for a Vortex Dragon, which is not bad at all. Also, if I try to go for the whole Odd-Eyes play where I negate itself to special summon another Odd-Eyes, it's great too. I don't really do it much anymore just because of the fact I don't really see it being relevant anymore, but it's still a great card in its own right. Next up, I am playing the one Meteor Burst Dragon, because like I said, I do still play this card. Its first effect is decent, but its main effect is basically when I attack, my opponent can't activate card effects during the battle phase. So it's really, really good for that. And then I am playing for the level 8 Synchros. I have one Ignister, because this deck is super good with Ignister. This thing protects me from so much. My opponent has a problem card, I just bounce it back into the deck. And then I also have BLs, because making BLs with one card is fantastic, and a lot of things have trouble getting over BLs now, so super good for that. And then the last level 8 Synchro I have is Starlight Dragon. This card is super good too, because when my opponent has a bunch of special summon monsters and I really need to get over his board and just go for an OTK, Starlight Dragon, call it out with, like I said, instant Synchro, call it out, and then I will pop all my opponent's cards and do a little bit of burn damage too, so super good for that, or all of my opponent's special summon monsters. And then I'm running the one Odd-Eyes Vortex Dragon, because Vortex is still super good. Bounce effect, or technically, bounce effect back into the deck, and then it's the hand. And then on top of that, its other effect protects me from pretty much anything as long as I have stuff in my extra deck face up. And then I have the one Zark, because Zark is too good to not play. It's an absolutely broken card. Yes, it's extremely heavy cost to play, but if you can get it off, it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That was my deck profile for the new Pendulum Magicians for June 2017, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!